Hey guys, this is Bobby T, and welcome to this special edition of Race Review, episode number 4. I just finished watching the Tour de France, but another race happening in France has captured our motorsport imaginations this weekend, being the 24 Hours of Le Mans. The 24 hours, typically held in June, middle of June this year, was postponed till September due to the COVID pandemic. But it is so fortunate that we were able to have this race despite being spectatorless this year, unfortunately, due to the virus, obviously. Le Mans is always a special race that we all look forward to every year. I think if you're a motorsport fan, regardless of what form of racing, Le Mans is something special, no matter what, that we always look forward to. It doesn't matter the level of competition or how many cars are in each class. We had 59 this year. Unfortunately, it would have been 60, but one of the Ginetta LMP1 entries dropped out, I guess the only one that they were planning on entering. But it was still a very, very special race, and being able to have it amidst this world situation was very special. And one of the things that made the race extra interesting this year was the extra hours of darkness. I think it was like 11 hours or something compared to the usual 6 hours or something around that time frame. So coming into the race, we expected Toyota to pretty much dominate in LMP1. LMP2, it was pretty much anyone's race, but we expected United Autosport to be up there leading pretty often. In GTE Pro, it was pretty much anyone's race to win, but Porsche were expected to be the fastest as they had been in practice and qualifying. And lastly, in GTE AM, it was pretty much anyone's race as well. One of the noticeable things about this race this year is the key presence of the amateur drivers, much less all pro teams in LMP1 and GTE Pro, and a lot more of the Pro-Am classes with LMP2 and GTE AM. In this race, we had 5 LMP1s, 24 LMP2s, most of those Orica chassis, so nearly a spec class. GTE Pro, we had 8 cars, down from 16 last year, and in GTE AM we had another huge field of 22. The race started pretty normally as we would expect it to at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Everyone did manage to get through the first corners safely, and the race kind of set up on its rhythm. Toyotas were able to get out in the lead early with actually one of the Rebellions splitting them, the number 1 Rebellion. In LMP2, it was pretty much back and forth a lot of the time between multiple entries. Unfortunately, the Signatech Alpine group of cars had to go into the pits early due to some mechanical issues. I think it was a oil leak, if I'm not mistaken. GTE Pro became a disaster fairly quickly for the Porsche team, as the number 91 pole-sitting car fell backwards early on in the race, which was quite a bit of a disaster for them, as they realized that they did not have the straight line speed or the oomph off the corners to really put in an effort or a good fight this year, despite not really being BOP'd very hard. In fact, they had even gotten an advantage with the radiator, I believe. So very unfortunate for the number 91 Porsche, and it wasn't long before the 92 spent some time in the garage. Meanwhile, it was very clear that it would be Aston Martin and Ferrari as the 2 key contenders in this year's race, specifically the number 97 Aston Martin and the number 51 Ferrari. These 2 would continue to go down to the finish fighting. One thing I want to talk about in this race review is not only just the race itself and how it went down, but the fact about how special Le Mans is. There's something that all of us motorsport fans always come and look forward to about Le Mans when we get into those nighttime hours. Like I said, having more this year than we have in years past, obviously being in September, is just how unique it is to see these prototypes and GT cars streaking through the night with these giant headlights that you can see blasting into the camera from a long distance down the Mulsanne, or the cars sweeping through the Porsche curves. There's something very different about it, and even though there are other forms of motorsport that are just as insane and powerful as the World Endurance Championship, there's something captivating about Le Mans that keeps bringing everyone back, and you continue to see that in the renewing of the LMDH class from IMSA that is organizing and combining with the ACO in the top class of Le Mans, and the hypercars coming in 2022 with Toyota and Peugeot. It's definitely something that manufacturers want to keep coming back to. In fact, John Doonan said 12 manufacturers were interested in LMDH, and obviously some of those will end up not moving on with their programs. But the fact of that thought is absolutely insane, that we could have that many factory teams competing for the top step at Le Mans. On through the night hours, the mechanicals and the wrecks hit hard. Scuderia Corsa fell in the night. The number 21 Dragon Speed falling, Bicales falling, and some of the AM cars in GTE AM and LMP2 fell in the night, as there were wreck after mechanical after wreck and many slow zones that plagued the track throughout the night. When we emerged in the morning, the number 8 Toyota was leading the race, followed by the number 1 Rebellion, and then the number 3 Rebellion in third place, with fourth place being the number 7 Toyota, which had some troubles in the night in LMP1, where it spent some time in the garage. In LMP2, the United Autosports number 22 found itself a relatively comfortable lead over the number 38 Jota Sport car as they emerged into the morning, after the number 32 United Autosport had found itself in a bit of difficulty with some mechanicals as well. When I woke up this morning, you could also see in GTE Pro that the number 97 Aston Martin had a great chance of winning the race, followed by the number 51 Ferrari 488 GTE, that is in GTE Pro. Those two were, of course, the dominant forces in that race, as we had many retirements and attrition in this race, and that was very much a theme this year, with LMP1 pretty much having at least a lap in between each car. Was pretty crazy. And LMP2 was more tightly packed, but still, the Signatech Alpine boys ended up 4th, I believe, in the number 36, while they had a issue in the garage in the beginning of the race and had lost much time. Because of all the issues that were going around in that class, they managed to work their way back up. So lots of just crazy stories that were unfolding that were fun to watch as a spectator. Of course, not being there, I've never been there. One day this will happen. I'll add it to my 50 bucket list tracks. But you know, it's just always exciting to follow with all those multiple classes of racing. And yeah, basically it was definitely worth watching, as it always is. I will always try and watch Le Mans, and they did a good job with coverage, as they usually do. You could tell the announcers were a bit delirious at times, but I think I would be as well if I'd gotten 3 hours of sleep, as opposed to my 6 or 7 that I got from this. But in the end, Toyota number 8 won for the 3rd time in a row, pulling off the hat trick in LMP1. The end of the hybrid LMP1 era, in fact, is next year we go into the hypercar rules, where for 1 year they will be grandfathered in to the hypercar class, running much slower than they are now. So this will be the last time we see these ridiculous speeds at Le Mans for a good while, at least. Second place with issues during pit stops and having things like that go wrong. I think there was a while where they got held up, if I'm remembering correct. But the number 1 Rebellion does finish up in second in their last Le Mans, with the number 7 Toyota placing 3rd on the podium. Unfortunate that they could just never have luck go their way at Le Mans. And finally, the 4th place car that was still able to finish was the number 3 Rebellion LMP1. Unfortunately for Bicales, they were not able to finish. They retired late Saturday evening, I believe, in 5th place. In LMP2, United Autosports had to make a splash and dash right at the end, but so did the number 38 Jota Sport car, which allowed the number 22 United Autosports LMP2 to go on and win the class, followed by the Jota Sport number 38 car in second, Panis Racing in third, the number 31, the number 36 Signatech Alpine LMP2 recovering to finish fourth, and G-Drive Racing in the number 26, despite many of their problems, was able to come home in 5th. Many other cars throughout the rest of the field managing to survive the race, and that in itself is an achievement, especially this year with a ridiculous amount of issues happening during the night. A total of 12 cars did not finish the race, just proving to show how difficult this race really is. First in GTE Pro was a very, very well-deserved victory from the number 97 Aston Martin group, followed by the AF Corsa number 51 Ferrari in second, the number 95 Aston Martin in third, and in fourth place was the number 82 Risi Competizione Ferrari that had some issues in the night but still managed to come out in fourth. Just behind those cars was actually the first of the GTE runners, and that belongs to TF Sport in the number 90 Aston Martin GTE. A brilliant performance by then, no mistakes that I can remember. They just drove a flawless race. Second was the number 77 Dempsey Proton Racing Porsche. Third was the number 83 AF Corsa Ferrari. Fourth was the number 56 Team Project 1 Porsche. Some good scraps for third place right at the end. And fifth place was the number 86 Gulf Racing team. So Le Mans is a very different race from the rest. It's very different this year than it obviously normally would be with no spectators. It lost some of its feel, but I can guarantee you that during Le Mans, watching that, I was very, very involved, and it was just good to see Le Mans take place this year, as we didn't know if it was going to be able to happen at first in June when it was canceled and rescheduled, and fortunately for us it was, and the spectators will be back next year, let's hope, and stay positive there. But regardless, for the teams, this is still just as big of an achievement, and once again I will say that Le Mans is just a very special race that deserves every motorsport fan's attention. Also, in the upcoming years, the sport is looking very, very promising with the hypercar regulations and LMDH, many new manufacturers coming in, and LMP2 spec class nearly is looking very, very strong as well, along with GT hopefully making a comeback. We'll see what happens. Maybe GT3 will take over back there because they're much more well known to fans, and also a bit cheaper and a better way, I think, for them to carry out GT racing in the future, because it is obvious there is a problem. There is a weak number, and COVID is only making that worse, but the AM category is still very, very filled with entries. So I think that while the sport is technically in a low as far as top competition for the top step of Le Mans and the highest class, it is still very obvious that motorsport is strong. While it's not as strong as it used to be, it is still very, very strong, with new followings and new potentials, and always something to be looking out for. So Le Mans was just a great refresher. I think I'm going to rate the 2020 88th running of the 24 Hours of Le Mans a 8 out of 10. Good race. Obviously it wasn't, bonkers. It didn't have to be. There were some parts where I went to bed. That did happen. I did sleep. That's how I am still awake right now. But yes, that was just a refreshing thing to see. It was just good. It was good for all of us. We always need something to look forward to and appreciate during COVID, and Le Mans gave us that. So, next week, if my internet potato cooperates, I will do another special edition on the 24 Hours of Nürburgring, which is the most insane race in the world, on the most insane track in the world, for the most insane people in the world, in my humble opinion. But I have never really watched one in full, and it is my goal to watch a good chunk of it next weekend. It should be a ridiculous race. Of course, there's like 200 some cars in it, so that will be exciting indeed. But for now, for race review, thanks for watching. I am Bobby T. You can just call me Tyler, or just some YouTuber guy. I'll go by any of that. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your week. I don't know when I'll get this uploaded, because it will take longer than usual, but I hope you enjoyed Le Mans. Be sure to give your feedback in the comments below as well, or don't, just move on. I'm just here to give you some coverage. Anyway, thanks for watching, stay positive, and live on. Peace.